Hi everyone, thank you so much for your positive feedback on my last vlog about challenging best practice. Within that vlog, I did place a little nugget about what this one was going to be about. I'm going to challenge play in this vlog. Not necessarily challenge it to the same extent that I could do. I want to make it quite a short video, this one. But I want to talk to you about the difference between play and exploration and explain to you why they're both really important, but try to give you a little bit of an idea about how to support exploration and how to give it a little bit more of a little bit more understanding than I think most of us are actually willing to give it. So, play. I'm going to have to draw on a couple of theorists in this video. I'm going to talk about Piaget and I'm going to talk about Vygotsky. Now, Vygotsky, me and Vygotsky are like this. You know, a lot of things I agree with, he tends to back me up, you know, or vice versa. Piaget, I don't always get on board with Piaget, if I'm honest with you. But it's really interesting that these two people had very different views about the purpose of play in an earlier setting. They still both believed they were important, but they both had a disagreement, well, not a disagreement, but they're different opinions in terms of the value of play. So I want to use those to sort of back up this discussion we're going to have around play and exploration. So Piaget's view was that children, very young children, engage in multi-sensory exploration. They use all of their senses to explore their surroundings, and that exploration might look a little bit different to the play that we usually see older children engaging in. So a young child might engage in exploration of an object. I'm going to grab something here. I'm going to grab one of my pal fruit. So they might have it in their hands, they might put it to their mouths, they might rub it around their face, they might see how it reacts onto the floor when they throw it. Basically, a child is using their whole body to explore this one resource. And you'll see this repeated many, many times. As children encounter new experiences, new resources, new people, they will explore. Within that realm of exploration, children aren't necessarily social. They're also not necessarily using a lot of spoken language, especially obviously younger children and babies, aren't using that language. But older children will still not necessarily use spoken language as they're exploring. They may share that exploration with someone else, but initially, usually that exploration happens in almost like a confined zone of themselves. So that exploration is very important. Piaget suggests that that's actually the step before most children are engaging in play. His view was play wasn't necessarily a vehicle for learning. Play was fun. It was a way of a child trying to sort of fit the world around them into their narrow view of the world, the view that they've created based on their exploration. Now, children will continue to return to exploration as they encounter new objects, but Piaget believed that a lot of that learning happened within exploration rather than through play. Whereas Vygotsky, he talks a lot about this idea that exploration is important, but children still learn an awful lot through their play themselves. Now, theorists out the way, let's talk a little bit about the practical applications of this, because there's a few things I think that we can really do well in earlier settings, and a few things I think we need to challenge a little bit as well. Okay, so exploration. I think most settings are really embracing this idea of providing new resources and new experiences for children so that they can explore the world around them. So, for example, lots of you are embracing loose parts, natural resources, and some man-made resources as well. And children are able to use all of their senses to work out what those objects are. As children become much more familiar with the world around them, less exploration takes place and more play takes place. But we're still feeding in new opportunities for exploration. We're still feeding in new opportunities for children to spend some time with a resource or an object. In fact, you might even create those experiences in your classroom yourself, or your setting yourself. I've seen lots of curiosity cubes appearing, and I'll challenge that in a second. But I think when it comes to trying to develop exploration, a good place to start is with these open-ended resources. Now, part of my job is to talk to people about introducing open-ended resources, and one of the difficulties we encounter, especially within communities where open-endedness isn't really embraced, is children come to nurseries or settings having spent a long time playing with sort of McDonald's toys or plastic toys from Argos catalogues and wherever they get them from. And so they come and they see things like the pal fruit or wooden peg dolls, and they wonder, what's this? Piece of wood? Rubbish. Throw it on the floor. And they go looking for toys. I recently had an issue with a parent who looked around the setting and said, where are the toys? And it was a challenge to explain to the parent the value of the resources in the room. Now, some of us err on the side of caution, not on the side of caution. Some of us think that children still need opportunities for toys in those situations because that's what they're used to, and I'm on board with that. Some of us don't. Some of us think children need to adapt to new experiences, and they will begin to play with those things. I want to talk to you about my setting and why I have fewer toys and what that's meant for the journey of these children. So I introduced an awful lot of loose parts things over the last couple of years to nursery, and like most of you know, this year I've been working in a combined nursery and reception class, so some of the children have been with me a long time, and so they're used to those resources. Others have not, and so the children who started with me in September, they saw these loose parts. Most of them didn't really engage in them, and if I'm honest with you, quietly in the back of my brain I was thinking, probably going to have to change some of these things because they're not using them. However, over the last few weeks whilst children have come back, and I've seen it as well in our sort of lockdown school, some children were beginning to use those in a more open-ended way. And I think it's because children move through that process of exploration. It may have taken quite a long time and children have done it at their own pace, but children have become very used to those resources. They've explored them, they know what they feel like, they know the shape, the size, and so now when they're engaging in imaginative play, they're beginning to use those open-ended resources freely and openly. I could have removed those at the beginning, and I could have said, actually, these children are not used to these types of resources, but part of me wanted to keep them going because I think it's important to give them life experiences of encountering these things. It's the same for everything. Think about a teddy bear. A baby encountering a teddy bear for the first time can be a blooming terrifying experience for that child because it's this big furry bear. That baby needs to explore that teddy bear and become used to it, so they can then engage in that play. If children never encounter these resources, they will never be able to engage and play with those. So we need to remember that these might be just hurdles that we have to jump over. If you are one of those settings that doesn't really want to do that, if you want to try and bring in more toys, that's entirely your choice, and it's about matching to your culture. I think I'm quite fortunate that my parents are on board with what we do wholesale because there's so much respect for teachers in my community that I serve. Whereas I've worked in other settings where there hasn't been much of an open-endedness approach in the community, and parents really have an issue with the fact that there aren't toys in the setting. So you have to find a good balance between the two. And let's think a little bit about curiosity cubes. Now, I love the concept of a curiosity cube, don't get me wrong, and I think they look wonderful and very inviting. If you're not familiar with a curiosity cube, quite a few people talk about them. You can get them from I can get something like it from IKEA, but lots of people selling catalogues now, and it's basically just a cube, a Perspex cube, with one face that's been removed, and you just turn it over and you put things inside of it, and children explore. My issue has always been, and continues to be, that the exploration within that moment isn't multisensory. It removes touch, because usually children are not allowed to touch things. Now, don't get me wrong, some people do take the lid off and let children play with those things, which is brilliant, so you are creating a multisensory approach. However, some settings don't, and so what they require children to do is to explore using their eyes, and that's it, the sight. I feel like that might be missing out on a benefit. I think if you're going to incorporate resources into your provision that encourage exploration, you need to make sure that you're providing a full range of senses for those experiences. Allow the children to touch and feel and maybe taste, or rub up against their lips. What does it sound like when it falls on the floor? Without that exploration, that multisensory exploration, we're not going to see that type of play that we want to. We're not going to see children using those resources in their imaginative play. And wherever you fall on the fence in terms of Piaget or Vygotsky, whether you think play is just something that's fun, where children are trying to fit the world in around them, or you are on Vygotsky's team and you think actually play is a really good vehicle and medium, or you are one of the many thousands of other people with different opinions, it doesn't really make a massive difference. We still need to provide opportunities for exploration in our setting. And the best way to do that might just be to incorporate a few things that they've never played with before. What do you think? Do you disagree with me? I think this idea of toys versus natural resources is such a hot topic at the moment, and I hope this gives you a little bit of a different perspective on it. I know for me, I change quite frequently in terms of what I think about what works best in classrooms based on my personal experiences, but also what I read from others. So please do comment. Let me know what you think. Is it something that you believe is important? Exploration, is it as important as play? Can they coexist? Let me know in the comments.